What the UK just did is right out of the Bible. It's confirmed. One nation has begun implementing the beast system. On September 26, 2025, Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed the British public and announced something that should send a shiver down the spine of every believer. A digital ID system that will be mandatory for employment by 2029. A system that resides on your smartphone. A system that controls access to jobs, banking, healthcare, and potentially much more. You'll be stunned when I reveal 5 key discoveries about this event. Discovery number 1, the UK's Digital ID. What exactly happened? Let me walk you through the events of September 26, 2025. The details are more significant than most people realize. Prime Minister Keir Starmer unveiled the UK's new Digital ID plan. He described it as free and voluntary. But here's the catch, it becomes a requirement for employment checks by 2029. And in a society where you need a job to survive, how voluntary is it really? Within a week of this announcement, something unprecedented took place. Over 2.75 million people signed a petition opposing this digital ID system. This marks the fastest growing digital rebellion in British history. The British people are understandably terrified. But here's what makes this even more alarming. This isn't a physical card you can leave at home. It's not something you can choose to ignore. This digital ID lives on your smartphone. It's embedded in apps. It's an integral part of your digital existence. The system will control access to jobs, banking, healthcare, benefits, voting, and even purchases of age-restricted items. Reports are already circulating that the gov.uk UK ID Check app is automatically installing on iPhones through NHS app links. People are waking up to discover surveillance software on their phones without their consent. Consider the implications. Lose your phone, you lose access to society. Refuse the ID, you lose your job. Push back against the system, you're flagged as suspicious. But here's the question that should keep every believer up at night. What happens when this ID becomes linked to your spending power, your access to healthcare, your freedom of movement, or even your religious beliefs? Because this is just the beginning. Discovery number 2, how this aligns with Revelation 13. Now, let me share something that will absolutely blow your mind. Turn with me to Revelation 13 verses 16 to 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Look at the parallels. He causeth all. The UK system is designed for all citizens and legal residents, universal coverage. Both small and great, rich and poor. This affects everyone, regardless of social standing. Wealthy executives and low-income workers alike will need this ID to be employed, that no man might buy or sell. You cannot work without this ID, you cannot access banking without verification, and you cannot participate in the economy without digital compliance. The Apostle John envisioned a system where economic participation would be controlled by a mark or identifier. The UK just announced exactly that, a digital identifier that controls access to employment and financial services. But here's what makes this even more prophetic, the potential future connection to central bank digital currency. The UK is already experimenting with programmable money, digital currency that can be controlled, restricted, and monitored by government authorities. Imagine money that expires, that can only be spent on approved items, that tracks every transaction you make. The foundation for a society-wide control grid is being laid quietly, legally, and globally. And most people are too preoccupied to notice. But here's the question that should terrify every student of prophecy. Why is this happening now? Why does it so closely resemble the sequence described in the Bible 2,000 years ago? Discovery number 3, is this just a UK issue? This is where things get truly unsettling. What's happening in the UK isn't an isolated incident. It's not a unique British experiment. It's part of a coordinated global system being implemented nation by nation, step by step, using the same playbook. Revelation 17 verses 12 to 13, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. A coordinated global system where multiple nations share a common purpose and surrender their power to a central authority. Let me illustrate how this is already unfolding. Estonia, the digital society blueprint. Estonia has had a comprehensive EID system in place since 2002. Every Estonian citizen over the age of 15 is required to have a digital identity card. They cannot vote without it. They cannot access banking without it. They cannot receive healthcare without it. They cannot own property without it. 99% of all government services require the digital ID. Estonians proudly call their country the most advanced digital society in the world. But what happens when that digital society decides you're a threat? What happens when a system you depend on for everything turns against you? Estonia's model is being studied and replicated worldwide. It's no coincidence that the UK's system mirrors the same architecture. The European Union, IDAs, and digital sovereignty. The EU has implemented the IDAS regulation, creating interoperable digital identities across all 27 member nations, one digital identity that works in Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and everywhere else in the European Union. But here's what's terrifying. The EU is now developing IDAS 2.0, which will mandate that all member states provide digital identity wallets to their citizens. Not optional, mandatory. By 2026, every person in the European Union will have a government-controlled digital identity. Think about that. Nearly 500 million people under a single digital identification system. China has already implemented the system that other nations are working towards. Their social credit system monitors every citizen's behavior, assigns scores based on compliance, and restricts access to services based on those scores. Low social credit score? You can't buy airline tickets. You can't get loans. Your children can't attend certain schools. You can't access high-speed internet. You can't stay in good hotels. The Chinese government no longer needs to arrest dissidents. They simply lower their social credit scores and let economic pressure take its course. And here's what should absolutely terrify you. Western tech companies helped build China's surveillance system. The same companies now building digital identity systems in the UK, Europe, and North America. What appears to be national policy is actually part of an international strategy. The World Economic Forum has been promoting digital identity systems through their Known Traveler Digital Identity Program. The same organizations pushing climate lockdowns, central bank digital currencies, and stakeholder capitalism are also pushing digital identity systems. This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are publicly stated goals from publicly available documents from international organizations that openly discuss their plans for global governance. Here's what the global system looks like when you connect all the pieces. Digital identity systems that verify your identity and control access to services. Central bank digital currencies that control how you spend and what you can buy. Social credit systems that control your privileges based on compliance. Carbon credit systems that control your consumption based on environmental metrics. The biblical warning. Revelation 13 verse 7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Not just one country, not just one region, global authority, worldwide control, universal compliance. We're witnessing the infrastructure for that global system being built right now, nation by nation, system by system, crisis by crisis. This is the infrastructure of tyranny being built in the name of security, efficiency, and progress. And most people are too distracted by entertainment, politics, and daily survival to notice what's happening. Now I know what some of you are thinking. This isn't the mark of the beast. The Bible says it's in the hand or forehead, not on a phone. And you're right. This probably isn't the final mark John described, but here's what every believer needs to understand. Not everything prophetic happens instantly. Sometimes it begins subtly, deceptively, building the infrastructure for what's coming. The greatest deceptions don't announce themselves as evil. They come disguised as progress, security, convenience, and social responsibility. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, for when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. The UK government is selling this digital ID as peace and safety, protection from fraud, security against illegal immigration, safety from identity theft. But what if this safety is actually the foundation for unprecedented control? Here's how I see it. If this isn't the mark itself, it's definitely the dress rehearsal. Once the digital infrastructure is built, once people are dependent on digital systems for survival, once resistance becomes impossible, all it takes is a single global crisis to flip the switch: economic collapse, pandemic, war, climate emergency, food shortage, any crisis that demands emergency measures and temporary restrictions that somehow never get removed. Discovery number 4, from ID to beast. How this could escalate. Let me show you how this could progress based on biblical prophecy and current technology. Phase 1. Digital ID becomes required for employment. We're already at this stage in the UK. Phase 2. Banking and welfare systems integrate with the digital ID. You cannot access benefits, open accounts, or conduct financial transactions without verification. Phase 3. Social credit scoring influences privileges. Good citizens get full access. Dissidents get restricted access. We're already seeing this model in China. Phase 4. The system becomes tied to belief systems. Christians who refuse to compromise, who won't affirm anti-biblical ideologies, who resist government overreach, they get cut off from economic participation. Daniel 7 verse 25, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time." Wear out the saints, not necessarily through physical persecution, but through systematic pressure, economic starvation, social isolation, and digital exclusion. Here's what's terrifying. No conspiracy theory is needed to see how this happens. All the features of this control system are already public and legal in the UK's policy documents. The technology exists. The legal framework is in place. The enforcement mechanisms are being tested. And the UK isn't the end. It may just be the beginning of a system that wraps the world in digital chains disguised as digital convenience. So, how should believers respond to what we're witnessing? First, remember Psalm 2 verses 1 to 4. "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord, and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder, and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision." God isn't surprised by digital surveillance systems. He's not caught off guard by government overreach. He's not worried about technological tyranny. He sits in the heavens and laughs at the futile rebellion of human rulers. Second, study Revelation 14 verses 9 to 12. "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. There will be saints who endure. There will be believers who refuse the mark. There will be Christians who choose economic hardship over spiritual compromise. What will happen to those who refuse the mark of the beast? What if I told you that soon you will have to make the biggest choice in all of history? You will be shocked. Number 1. Banned from buying, the new economic prison. This first consequence is the fastest and perhaps the most devastating for unprepared families. The moment you say no to the mark, you'll be cut off from the world's financial system. Revelation 13 verse 17 says, "No one may buy or sell except one who has the mark." Not some people, not most people, no one. This isn't a minor restriction. This is a total lockout. You cannot buy food. You cannot pay rent. You cannot get gas. You cannot pay for power. You cannot buy medicine for your sick kids. Within a day of refusing the mark, you'll face hunger. Within a week, you'll be homeless. Within a month, you'll be cut off from all modern life. Now, you may think this can't happen. How can one system control every single purchase on Earth? Let me show you how close we already are. In Sweden, cash accounts for less than 2% of purchases. Most stores no longer accept cash. Everything is digital. Everything is tracked. Everything can be controlled. Central bank digital currencies are being launched all over the world, allowing governments to control every penny you spend. These are not private cryptocurrencies. These are government digital dollars that can be shut off in an instant. But here's the scary part. The technology already exists to tie your payment ability to your body. Your fingerprint, your face, your DNA can become your wallet. And if that wallet is turned off, you are broke. Picture waking up tomorrow and your cards don't work. Your bank account is frozen. Every store scans your face and displays access denied. Every digital payment rejects your fingerprint. Your children are hungry, but you cannot buy food. Your rent is due, but you cannot pay. Your car runs out of gas, but no one will sell to you. This is economic exile, total, instant, crushing. And here's the chilling part. This is designed to break your mind before it breaks your body. They want you to watch marked families eat while your kids starve. They want you to see marked people live in comfort while you lose everything. The pressure will feel unbearable. Each day you hold out, your family suffers more. Each day you resist, life becomes harder. The emotional pain will be worse than any physical pain. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know, and what will shock you about our second consequence. While the world turns its back on you, something supernatural happens that most believers have never seen. Consequence number 2, divine protection, supernatural provision, and safety. Here's where the story takes a turn, giving you chills and hope. While the world tries to starve you, God will implement a protection plan He has prepared for thousands of years. Revelation 12 verse 6 says, "Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days." Look at those words, a place prepared of God. This isn't a last-minute rescue. This is a planned system of help. Isaiah 33 verse 16 says, "He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him. His water shall be sure." Bread shall be given. Water shall be sure. Not maybe will. You may think this sounds too good to be true, food and water from God in modern times. Remember what God has done before. For 40 years in the wilderness, God fed 3 million Israelites with manna from heaven. Every morning, fresh bread lay on the ground. Their clothes never wore out. Their shoes never broke. Water came from rocks. When Elijah was being hunted by King Ahab, God sent ravens with bread and meat twice a day. During a 3.5-year famine, Elijah never went hungry. When a widow had only a little flour and oil left, God made it last for years to feed her, her son, and Elijah. When 5,000 people were hungry, Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fish and fed them all, with 12 baskets left over. The same God still works. His power hasn't diminished. His love hasn't faded. And here's what's even more encouraging. God has prepared for this time. Psalm 91 says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wing shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." And verse 7 says, "1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee." Food and shelter, safety from harm, peace in chaos. Christians today in underground churches report miracles like this. But you must understand, God's protection doesn't eliminate all hardship. It transforms hardship into spiritual growth. Which brings us to the third consequence. While you're battling doubts, forces will work to break you through persecution.